This week we're going to finish the chines, fairing them up. We're going to go ahead and just kind of fit the decks, and then we're going to take a little side look and talk about what's coming. Before we get into that, I want to reference the boat giveaway. Once again, we're teaming up. Salt Boatworks is working with me. We're going to give away any set of plans, anything from a 12 to 18, the FRS plans. If you just go to this link right up here, there's a whole video that explains the rules. It ends March 31st. We're going to do the drawing and we'll get it all sorted out and get it. So you'll also see in the description below, I've got a list of all the products that I've used. None of it's super fancy. There are links below. You can just check out what I've used, what I've been doing. Like I said, if you buy the products, if you need them, you can go through the link, and I do earn a little bit of a commission off of it, but it helps us to do this project and other stuff that I got coming. So I appreciate it. You can watch this video. We're going to go through it pretty quick here, so thanks for tuning in. So here we go, smart enough this time to use the jack. Got all our batteries charged up, using that little cordless planer there to just try and fair that side. We basically just have to get that side there done, and this is, I think, the next day or maybe even the next week we get back on it. Like I said, got all the batteries charged. Just got to the point it had to stop. So just using that little plywood guide there. That's a straight edge. That's a factory plywood edge, and I've talked about that before. That's what I use with my little skill saw to make long cuts and rip plywood and break it down. But that little hand planer, the little electric planer there, it works good. Like I said, I don't know if the blade's just getting dull. My batteries are just shot, but I just have a lot of problems. And some of my batteries are really old, so you can see, it still works. It's still a lot faster than trying to sand it. We're going to actually find a much faster solution here to come, but it requires a little more elbow grease. So just using that planer there, taking this thing down and constantly checking my level. I've had a lot of people talk about, did I verify that the height of those things were all in plane or fair or whatnot. So there may have been a little sweep from the back to the front, but I feel like they're pretty doggone close. So if you'll go back and look at the earlier videos when I had the sides of the boat actually setting up on top of those bulkheads, you can kind of see there, like I could really see that they were straight even way back then. But I've checked them and double checked them, and they should all be fine. So once again, spent a lot of time up here between that second bulkhead, kind of where I was working there, to the bow here. Kind of have to take off about 3/4 of an inch. I talked about that last time, how much of that shear clamp right there, I think that's the right term, y'all correct me if it's not, but that shear, that little piece of lumber that's on the inside of the shear there, was just proud. So just kind of planing it down. We're gonna run through this pretty fast, but I did want to kind of run through this in time lapse because you can see that I'm checking everything and I'm going really slow. And the one thing I like about the planer is it's hard to get in trouble with the planer because it takes such a small amount off. You can see me just layer after layer after layer taking it off, and you can see the dust and the wood chips or the sawdust or whatever that's coming out of it. You can see it right there laying in the boat. But it's hard to get in a situation where I'm gonna gouge out like a 1/8 of an inch too much. So I could deal with that, but I'm just gonna creep up on it here because of the way that the outside shear bumper and all is gonna go on. I want to make sure that I do this as best I can, because this is gonna be we're laying the foundation for the decks and all here. So that's what you see me doing. I'm gonna run through it pretty quick. And there was I actually cut out a bunch of the just sitting and looking and eyeballing and whatnot, and you'll see how stuff kind of jumps. You'll get an indication of that. But I did want to run this in there. I'm not the fastest at doing this, but speed in this situation wasn't really my goal. I would have been faster, I think, if I'd have had a pure electric plane, like a 110 volt as opposed to cordless. I think we'd have had a little more torque and whatnot. But yeah, you can see I have plenty of batteries, and some of them you can fully charge them, and they're old and they've got some memory issues or whatnot. But it all worked out pretty good. As you can see, the sun's out. It's a nice pretty day. What a difference in temperature from when I was doing this the other day. I had multiple layers on. It was cold, but it's warmed up. It's a nice day, so I'm gonna just keep working on that. We'll let it run, and we'll just keep talking about it as we go. You can see here, I referenced it in the last video, just by the way I did that intro. I didn't piece all this stuff together properly like in my editing, but now I've got that little hand plane out, and actually that thing was cutting. It was cutting really nice, so it requires a lot more effort than that little cordless plane, but you can just see it's rolling up wood chips right and left, and little shavings and rolls, or I know true woodworkers have a name for those, but I don't know what they are. It's just shavings, I guess. Just kind of tuning it up, and I've never used a plane like this much at all. Certainly a cordless plane, anything. So it was kind of new for me. I feel like that fiberglass, that fiberglass that's coming up on the outside of the boat, I feel like it's pretty hard on these cutting edges of these planes. I think the wood, it does really well, but that fiberglass, I think it wears on them and kind of takes the edge away. So that really made quick work of it. I'm gonna just keep going around and tuning it a little bit, what I can see by gauging that. Once again, I'm creeping up on it as I lay that board across those two things and pull it. You see how I pull it to the edge there? It's still hitting, so that means I'm kind of not where I want to be yet. And sometimes if I bridge it from the outside to that rear one, I'm looking at the gap that it has, and I wanted to get it down. Everything's, I feel like I got everything within a 1/16. So by the time we bed the decks and all that with thickened epoxy and push that down, we ought to have a really, really good foundation here. So I feel like taking my time on this and really working through it, and making sure that we were conservative, we didn't go too far anywhere. It's going to help us as we go forward. And this was a pretty enjoyable part. Like I talked about before, I have laid in bed and dreaded this, and the last thing I wanted was to come out and have a wavy deck on the boat because I didn't do something right. But and I don't know what I did right in this process, or if it just happened to work out. I think having those bulkheads nice and fair helped me a lot, and then using that straight edge, and even the batten, going back and forth. The batten lines that I put on earlier, they gave me a good guide. In many cases, I actually wound up taking those lines away to get where I think I needed to be. So we'll see, and we're gonna in a little while we'll put the decks on here, and you'll get to see this thing start to come together, and we'll talk about it. So we're almost done. Just gonna get the vacuum out and clean everything up. And I don't know if it helped me having the floor and all in there, because I wound up taking everything up, but kind of wanted to show those pieces how they'll go back in there. So we'll be back here in just a second. as you can see here, now just had to go in my little storage shed there and start pulling these pieces out. And I'm not entirely sure where they orient, how they orient back to front, side to side. So I'm just kind of putting them in place to I just want to see how it all looks. Once again, it'll be easier to tell how fair and everything is when you've got some nice long surfaces. So otherwise, I just couldn't wait. I just wanted to see what it looked like. I wanted to get up in the boat and set on that rear deck right there, so I could feel how the console is going to move, how it's going to fit, and how big, how much space, and where's it going to be. So that's the whole purpose of what we do in here. Just kind of setting the stuff on here and taking a look, and then what we find out is making sure I have all the pieces. I may have only cut one of those pieces there, and I needed two. And that's just how the plans are. Generally, it would tell you on the layout where to go, but if I didn't trace it properly, or if I didn't do it, I'm gonna have to go back and look. That's one of the benefits of having all this stuff recorded, is I can go back and look in time and see what in the heck I did now almost 2 years ago. So that's how long we've been working on this. I started cutting out the patterns for this the 4th of July in 2022. So 4th of July, we certainly probably not going to be done with it by then, just because I do a lot of other stuff. But it's so neat to see these pieces go in place, and that whole motor well area, you can kind of start seeing and visualizing. And I'm really happy, like underneath these rear decks, it's going to be some valuable, some very usable space in there. So I wanted to put these pieces here on, so I'd get a feel for how wide my little walkways will be going from stern to bow and vice versa. So pretty neat little process. Yeah, it won't be long and we'll have these glued down. Well, as you can see, I had to pull out all the pieces, put them on there. I got to look for another one of these pieces. This kind of gives you an idea. Obviously, all this stuff's got to be fitted, so it all fits right, but gives you an idea how the motor well and all will be shaped kind of at the angle and the height. And to me, like that's a good bit of room right in there. That's good, but kind of gives me an idea of the cockpit, being able to set into place, set into space. I'm able to kind of set in there, and once again I just got this stuff just barely sitting in there, get an idea of exactly how wide will the little covering boards here be, but it gives me an idea of the space, and I'm able to sit there and make me some marks. I got a mark right there of how much room I absolutely got to have, I want to have there, and then I'm gonna make me a little template, or maybe out of some foam or some scrap lumber, to just know what that console is going to look like and what's it like walking around, kind of just looking. I'm really happy with the size of the casting deck. It looks really nice, and I've been sitting here and I hope it shows, but like just looking at the shape of the hull, the shape of the hull just looks really good to me. Looking down through there, and I'm excited to get it all painted, all of this blue, and have to sand all that back. But we're gonna go to work on. Wanted to put these on there and just kind of eyeball it, make sure that everything looked flat and I didn't have any humps or anything like that. But it looks pretty good from planing the shear on it. So we're gonna next thing will be running all the plumbing and getting everything below deck ready to put the floor down. So I'm gonna go to work on that here shortly.